Okay, hi everyone. My name's Lou. I'm a eight-figure e-com brand owner, and today we're speaking with Yusuf. Give us a wave, Yusuf. um, so yeah, a little bit about me. Give me 1 second. So this is one of my brands that I've scaled, literally from the ground up. It's now like 7 figures. I've managed 7 different brands, and I've scaled them all pretty much from zero to either high 6 or 7 figures. So what I'm trying to do is to, I suppose, democratize a lot of the knowledge that I've gained over my almost 10 years in e-commerce, so that I can distill all that information and essentially provide a guide for who I was and the level of experience I had 10 years ago. So I'm going to be speaking to as many startup entrepreneurs as possible, just to try and help them with any limiting beliefs and walk through any tools, tricks on Shopify, just to help you guys get started and scale. Because if I've done it, and I literally started from nothing, there's no reason that you guys can't do the same as well. Okay, so today we're going to speak to Yusuf. Yusuf's in Canada. He is. I suppose you could tell us a little bit about yourself if you want, Yusuf. What was your reason for jumping on the call today?
I've had lots of inspiration over the couple of years. So I don't know, for some reason, like my timeline on YouTube or timeline on TikTok, I've just seen so many drop shipping like videos and brands, and I've just like now that I'm like a senior in high school, compassionate to finally go and do it and like just
Mm-hmm.
move on.
Do you have a end goal or vision? Do you know what you're optimizing for or working towards?
A stable brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's like goal, but for the time being, just like my tiny steps, it's like 1 week, like $1,000, and then like
Mm-hmm.
months and years, and just try to see like how much I can get profitable,
Yeah,
and just see how far I can go to scale my brand, and just
yeah,
to
that's amazing. Do you have a brand at the moment then? Have you started anything?
currently not, but I do like retail on the side just for like
Mm-hmm.
extra, so I know like how a
Cool.
business like should be handled, and like the like promoting, and just like how to like be like friendly with like your customers,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to like do more.
Yeah, I understand. And great that you've got started as well and shown willing with that. When you say you're reselling, what platform are you reselling? Is it like just like eBay shop? Do you actually have a Shopify store set up? What are you doing for that? Is it just in person?
It's just eBay, like
Okay.
just like either like sneakers or like electronics, anything like that.
Hmm. Yeah, amazing. Do you watch much of Gary V's output on social media?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's very good on the eBay side of things and just kind of monetizing items that you've paid for that then
Mhm.
hold some residual value that you can unlock cash flow from. So that's a really good start. And it's a good kind of soft entry into online sales as well, because it's very low friction. You understand the product, you generally have something that's in demand, and then you're leveraging software and technology in order to basically sell at most cases across the world. That's kind of the good thing about it. And it parallels, it's a nice kind of entryway into ecom because it is technically arbitrage. It's taking something from low value, taking it to high value, or even just unlocking cash that you've got stored in a particular item. So the principles can sometimes carry over. So that's great that you've got started. When you think about the brands you want to talk about, or you're thinking about starting, do you have any idea what that's going to look like? So is product based, is service based? If it's a product, do you have a particular niche? Tell me a little bit more about that.
For my brand, I'm trying to go into like a clothing brand type,
Hmm.
but like I haven't like envisioned like the end goal. I'm just
Okay.
trying to like take like little steps at a time.
Okay. So when you say you haven't thought about your end goal, good analogy. It's like literally setting out on a boat without a heading. You're going to get pulled this way and that way. You're going to
Hmm.
end up somewhere you don't want to be, and you're going to call it fate. Sometimes starting with the end in mind is really important because that sets your North Star goal, so that every little micro decision you make in the moment is either going to pull you towards that goal or away from the goal. So I always encourage everyone, if you're setting off on any business journey, to think of like, what is it I'm optimizing for? What am I working towards? What's the vision? Because every little step you make has to be in accordance with that. So I would definitely encourage you to get really clear on the reasons, first and foremost, why you want to start the brand, and then also what that's going to do, what's that going to mean for you. So is it like financial freedom, is it time freedom, is it location freedom? Is it just having agency and choice to do what you want, go where you want, with who you want, when you want? You know what I mean? What is it that you, in an ideal world, and take away all limitations? Like, what
Mhm.
do you want this brand to provide for you? This is just being solely selfish for now. Like, what does it mean, or what do you want to do it for you? Because business is very difficult. It's incredibly hard. One of the most difficult things you'll do, particularly so if you don't have good people around you to kind of keep you on course or help you find your way in the dark. As much as you've got loads of resource now, way more than I did when I started, sometimes it's hard to kind of cut through a lot of the noise and find out what's kind of right for you. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Honestly, maybe like financially freedom, but
Mm,
currently I'm at a point where like I don't know like how to like start. And like I think that financially like freedom or like just financially like like level of like my age, I think would be
mm,
like because like right now I'm gonna go into huge debt because of university. So if I could pay off and then have like freedom and just like look for like a job and like be going full on my business, I think I
mhm.
could go like far in and like
Yeah.
have a good
Okay. So you're wanting to go to university and then have this as a side hustle. Is that how you want this to be structured or to work?
kind of for
Yeah.
like my 4 years, and then
Hmm.
after maybe like take a little break from like my like degree and just going on to like my business and then maybe jumping into my degree with my brand.
Mm, okay. So is there going to be any sort of relation between what you're studying at university and your brand building or business goals?
I have maybe business classes I might be taking.
Okay.
So
And
learn like
what would you expect those to teach you, those business
how to
classes?
like start a business or like how to like move up into like the business world, you know.
Mm. What does that look like to you though? When you say like moving in the business world, what does that entail?
Having like connections. I think like
Okay.
you for instance, like I think you're like a very good like mentor and like I
Hmm.
think you have like connections, which like if I could get more connections, then I could have like get more advice, more hints, more like
Hmm. Yeah. No, that it's honestly it's super valuable, and I didn't have anyone like that at all for the first few years of my journey, and it extended it tenfold. And there's a good saying of your network is your net worth, and it's so important who you spend your time with and who you learn from as well, and who you take advice from or don't take advice from, for that matter as well. Um, it's a funny one as well because you get a lot of uh, students, I guess, or even thinking about going to college or university, who are either thinking they want to drop out or they don't know which direction they want to go. Do they want to get a job? Do they want to start a business? Do they want to go to university? And sometimes it's difficult, particularly so if you have pressure from like family members or peers or teachers to follow that standard set life pattern. And it's not, sometimes it's not clear, and it's good whilst you're young that you have the choices to do that as well. You can pretty much pick and choose, but if you don't have anything going at the moment, the last thing you want to do is kind of throw everything away. To do that, you can still kind of do both. You know what I mean? You can always drop out of university, worst case, if you get your business to a position where it's cash flowing, or you're enjoying that, or you feel a stronger pull towards it. Because most things, like, you don't necessarily need to go to university for, and I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying if you need to be a doctor or a lawyer, somewhere where you need like accreditations or certifications, or you need to go through like a certain process or protocol, then it's important. But if you're doing something a little bit more, I don't know, esoteric, then maybe there's not the same need for it. And that's why I keep saying, like, start with the end in mind. If you can start with some element of lifestyle design, and you can think, okay, what direction am I heading? Where do I want to go? And then you can reverse manufacture those steps to get there. Sometimes that is also quite useful, because if you don't know where you're going, again, you'll get pulled left, right, and center, just as that analogy with the boat. And then before you know it, 5, 10, 15 years have passed. You've ended up just kind of following the script. You're probably taking a job because it was the only thing going. You have no interest in it. Then you get trapped. And that's like one of the most dangerous places to be. But that's just the normal script. That's the normal way everything's set up in society, particularly so in the West. And it is a little bit of a honeypot trap. And I also fell into it as well. And it was only entrepreneurship that kind of opened my eyes to all of the potential avenues that are actually out there. But it does help because, but my thing was I knew what I didn't want, and I knew what I didn't want more than what I did want, and that still helped to shape me. So even if that's something that gives you a bit of a heading, and you have like an anti-vision as opposed to a vision, so you know what you're pulling away from, sometimes that can also kind of point you on the right in the right direction. But as we know, business is difficult. It's very competitive, particularly so if you're thinking about a clothing brand, because you need to think about the value proposition, like what is going to make you different to the other 10,000 clothing brands out there. Is it brand? If it's brand, what does the brand stand for? How do you proliferate and get the word out there? Have you thought about cash flow, logistics? Have you thought about marketing? Have you thought about inventory? Have you thought about design? All of that. Have you spent any time just throwing everything out, even on a whiteboard, on a piece of paper, to map it out?
No, I haven't. I've just like looked up on like multiple brands. How did they start it? How did they
Mm-hmm.
like even how did they start it? It was
Mm-hmm.
just like they took like so many years just, like getting their like logo. Like and then like they had like hundreds of designs and I've
Mm-hmm.
never really thought like how long would it take to have like just like my logo or like having like like a supplier even. So
Mm-hmm.
it takes a while, but I'm like I've like envisioned it so many times that like I'm like I could try it, but I feel like taking the risk is like what I'm like fearful of. But I'm
Mm.
trying not to.
What when you say taking a risk, what does that risk look like, and what is it
Like
that's scary about it? What's the
even
risk?
though even though you don't have customers now,
Mm-hmm.
spending money models, inventory, just like the logo and like the either if you're putting like puff print, embroidery, like anything like that, it costs
Mm-hmm.
and like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have like savings, so you might be losing from the
Mm-hmm.
start
Yeah.
and like you don't know for like gain because obviously having a brand is like really, really hard.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's very difficult at the beginning as well. And one trap I fell into at the beginning is just thinking, build it and they will come. And most e-com businesses, same with software businesses as well, they don't start, if you're direct to consumer anyway, they don't start cash flow positive. So they follow that J curve of they like lose money, lose money, lose money. Then they launch, and then you start to go up. But not everyone goes up. Most people go down and stay down, and then keep going down because they keep taking on more debt. They keep buying more inventory, or they keep iterating and trying when they haven't actually established any sort of product market fit or brand. And one thing I learned not to do was to try and flip that and de-risk things. So how and think outside of the box of how can you mitigate that. And one, I say easy, but one trick really is, can you get some sort of commitment from, I don't know, friends, family, to pre-order? And this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm building, this is why it's going to be good. I mean, can you have and think outside of the box around the brand of why should they buy it? And then can you actually pitch and sell that, and then use that money on pre-orders to actually order the product? It's obviously higher risk because you have to deliver on that. You can't just kind of take the money and run with it. You actually have
Yeah.
to. You still have to give them something to show for it. But I'm just trying to think if there's another way outside of that where it doesn't have to be so front loaded. Because in any business, there is such a strong element of like overcoming inertia. That's always the hardest part, is just getting going. Like, you can take a lifetime even just coming up with the idea, or you can just execute, but you can do it kind of small scale. You don't have to kind of go all in. This doesn't have to be like be all and end all. And this might be good for you as well, because if you don't have anything going at the moment, you don't maybe want to not go to university or do something else or go straight into a job, because you can do both at the same time. That you have more than enough hours in the day. I mean, I don't know if you have to work a part-time job as well around say university, but when I first started, I was up at like 5 in the morning until 8:30. Then I worked a full time job, 9 to 5, went to the gym for an hour, and then worked 6 till like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Saturdays and Sundays didn't exist for me. I just did whatever I needed to do to kind of weaponize that time to invest in my business so that I could still kind of have cash flow. So, by cash flow, I mean I can still keep the lights on, I can still provide. I'm not on the streets, and then I'm using all of that residual effort, time, and resource, pummeling that into building a business on the side. That way, there's way less stress. as opposed to just like not doing something and going all in, which I definitely wouldn't recommend doing if you still haven't got like crystal clear clarity on your business or your brand or your product in particular. Because I think particularly with an apparel brand, there's so many out there. It's almost like you need some sort of mission or purpose behind the brand. Like, what's the why? Like, if you think of Nike, for example, it's an extreme example, but the way they market, it's more of it's a feeling. That's what they're selling. It's prestige. It's status. Yeah. Particularly so they align with athletes as well. Like, is there something you can do around that if it's like a certain purpose or something you stand for? I don't know, that you can get people to stand behind you and get them to buy into the vision. So all of a sudden now it's not just a t-shirt, it's a movement, something like that. Have you ever thought about that?
I've honestly thought about like introducing my brand to like my school, but
Mm-hmm.
currently I have a couple weeks left to like graduate. So I need to start moving into like uni and like trying to promote
Mm-hmm.
it there. That I
Okay.
think that's a good step. Maybe like even posters, flyers, like even social media. I think social media is like a big part because you could brand it to like worldwide. So I think
Mm-hmm.
like very good like very good platform to just like scale it, like
Mm-hmm.
scale your and then launch, soft launch, just to
Yeah.
see like customers actually are willing to pay for it, how many
Mm-hmm.
customers actually the product, and just like seeing like your feedback basically, and like
Mm-hmm.
improving on either like hate or good. Even like even your close friends could like criticize like the branding and just give you advice on like how and like
Mm-hmm.
what to do basically to like improve it.
Yeah. And that early feedback is so important as well, particularly so if it's from like highly critical eyes, because the last thing you don't want yes men around you or yes women around you. You want
Mhm.
ones who will actually be critical and honest, because sometimes when it's your friends you can be like, oh yeah, it's great, I really like it, it looks fantastic, good job. Particularly so if you're going to your parents, for example, for feedback, are generally the worst. They're the best for your ego, but like the worst in terms of like getting actionable critical feedback. So I think that would be good, and I like the idea of doing some sort of like pre-sale as well, because then you're de-risking everything. You're getting that out into the market straight away. You're getting almost instant feedback, whether that's on the brand or the mission, whatever it is. I think the other thing as well you have to think about is like the quality of the product and your price point. And have you thought about your unit economics as well? Have you looked into that side of things, like the cash flow element, which is probably the most important?
Yeah. I've seen like some like I'm trying to go for like maybe like a puff print or like an embroidery, but
Mm-hmm.
print is like a very expensive like material to actually like put on like a piece of clothing. So like
Mm.
that's like I haven't like really thought about like just how much it is to like have a sample, having like the cost,
Okay.
but I really like I'm trying to like think a way just to like just a soft launch or just to like see like an idea like how much things are gonna cost.
Okay. So what do you think you need to do to get those hard numbers as opposed to theoretical ones?
Um, I think there's sellers on Alibaba. So
Mm-hmm.
I've looked, but their samples are like $100 each. So I need to get like a either like a logo or a brand just to like
Mm-hmm.
see like just to see like my envision on like a piece and just see how
Okay.
much it would.
Okay. Is there nothing locally? Is there no local embroiders? Is there no local factories? Anything around you where you can use?
I haven't Googled into it, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing around me.
Okay. I would definitely look into that, because if you can do things closer to home, so much easier from a relationship stance. Generally, it's probably going to be more expensive naturally because you're not outsourcing to China, for example, where they've obviously mass produced everything. But sometimes that early feedback, or if you're speaking to a company who literally deals with it, they understand it. They understand the unique economics. They understand the materials, the fabrics, the logos, the placement, that whole kind of supply chain side of things. That can also be good. Even if you just like go for a meeting with one, you just like
Yeah.
take the weekend or like drive down, or even like I don't know how far away you are, but like get down to the States as well, or even if they can just send something in the post, something
Yeah.
that can be good. And the unit economics are always skewed at the beginning as well, because you're generally going to be placing low volume and you don't have the scale of economy which generally you will get if you buy 5 units versus 10,000 units. Obviously, it's a lot cheaper to mass produce 10,000 than it is to produce 5 individual ones. So you don't get that. But you can still have that conversation and look for the price breaks so you can kind of forecast a little bit. Because the main thing is you have to make sure if you wanting to run this as a lifestyle business, it needs to be able to pay you. And a lot of people forget that. And they think, okay, I buy the t-shirt for $6, I sell it for 20, $14 profit, happy days. But out of that, you have to think about all of the operational overhead. You have to factor in your cost of customer acquisition, particularly so if you're running ads, which
Mhm.
can sometimes be expensive, particularly if you don't really know what you're doing. It's obviously a competitive market space. So doing what you said before, and maybe going more down the influencer route and trying to proliferate it that way, where you have no real cost of acquisition other than maybe the gifting of the t-shirt itself, can sometimes be good. Are you just wanting to do t-shirts, or you do wanting to do like a little bit more? What's the vision
Um,
with that?
I'm trying to think of like a hoodie and like maybe
Mm-hmm.
like some. And I know the fashion right now is just like baggy pants, but I'm not trying to
Mm-hmm.
have it like copy like another brand. That's the only issue. Like I'm trying to be unique in a way
Mm-hmm.
that no one else has thought about it, but I'm just like I'm still trying to envision it right now.
Okay. Okay. Is there any particular like brand that you would like to emulate or like to be, or even if it's just a particular type of product? Have you thought about that?
I thought about Broken Plan, like how they market things. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like a I've kind of had like a goal to be like them.
Okay. And can you elaborate a little bit more on what that looks like, just solely
So
for
what
marketing or messaging?
Broken Planet has like this like I've been there like since the beginning. What they have was like they have like their social media being like on TikTok. They have them posting like their clothes, brand new things on Instagram, and they don't usually like have like unlimited like quantities, you know? They have
Mm-hmm.
like limit, so like it's
Yeah.
hard for it, scale it to like they market it as in like more expensive than it usually is. So
Okay.
like they have like lots of people that want their brand, but they can't get it just because it's like limited. It's
Yeah.
only like some sales that they like monthly or weekly.
Yeah. They use scarcity and fear of missing out as the kind of marketing driver. Do you know how they generated that hype initially? Like, how did they? Have you like? Is there a founder story out there? Do you know what their early days look like? How they got started? Have you looked into that? Is there any information out there?
Originally, I thought it was just TikTok or Instagram, but I've never
Mm-hmm.
thought of how they started it.
Okay, because that sometimes they say success leaves clues, right? And to try and leverage the experience of those ahead of you, just like we're having a call here. But if you have like a particular niche, there's some really interesting stories. I know just like maybe 3 off the top of my head, and I'm not in the entire business at all, but like good books, recommendations to read. Shoe Dog, Phil Knight, amazing, Nike. Chip Wilson, he's Canadian, right? Founder of Lululemon, fantastic book. And I just even look at Ben Francis's story from Gymshark, how they got started, how they literally were doing everything themselves by hand, and they didn't come from money at all. You think he was working in Pizza Hut? Listen,
Yeah.
he's done quite a fair few podcasts, and just to take inspiration on how they got started. I know there's like different elements which are hard to replicate because their timing around like social media and the way they got influencers on board was like impeccable. But that's not to say that can't be replicated or you can't get a head start by utilizing platforms or marketing methods that are working and getting virality. Nowadays, for example, something like TikTok Shop is doing really well. And then links and integrates perfectly into Shopify, which again, super easy to link up. So, is there a way you can take some sort of inspiration, listen to their stories, model the
Mhm.
traits of the greats? Is a good saying, and look for some sort of type of hints, or because there's adversity at every step as well. There's always going to be problems. I always say this to everyone who's around me when it comes to setting up a business. Your job is to solve problems, and you're paid in direct proportion to the level of the problem that you solve. I think that's an Elon Musk quote, and it's so true. And instead of being CEO, your job literally is a problemologist. It sounds stupid, but that's literally what we do. And you're trying to solve problems at scale, and those small ones at the start. particularly so at the start, because it seems there's so much resistance. Like the lead times take 10 times more than you want them to. You think it's going to cost, I don't know, $1,000, it ends up costing like $5,000. Like all of these things compound, and it just kind of forces you subliminally to just want to quit or throw the towel in and just take the easy route again. But if you can push through that, that's how you're going to succeed. And look at all of these stories, particularly so I use Phil Knight at Nike, his startup story. So he's got a book. It's literally that thick. It's a big book. Okay. And probably 98% of that book is just problems. So many problems. Like it's a bit of a story at the start, which is cool. How he gets going, how he travels the world, how he gets inspiration. But like the bulk of the Nike story, until things started to get good, is just like problem after problem after problem, and every problem the magnitude gets higher. And that's why I say try and link it back to your vision and your mission as to what's going to drive you through, because this will get difficult. It's not going to be easy. Remember, if it's easy, everyone would do it. It wouldn't be worth it. So just flipping this back to what we started from the start, if you can begin with the end in mind and think about like, how much do I actually want this end goal? How much do I want to, like, how much am I willing to invest? And how much shit am I willing to get through, essentially, in order to kind of get to this end goal or provide value to this particular demographic? Or how much do I really want this kind of financial independence or location freedom or time freedom, whatever it is? So if you, and I know I keep jumping around a bit, but if you can think with that at the beginning, and then really focus on how can you design a product and a brand that aligns with that vision, and that's going to get you there. And a lot of it is mostly around solving problems for people. That's what you get paid for. Okay, so say there's a particular design or style that you're thinking of doing, can you think outside the box a little bit and be like, okay, who else is doing it? What would I change about that? How would I improve it? Or like digging into like reviews, for example. Is there problems with quality? Is there a problem with size and fitting? Is there a problem on durability or washing, on, I don't know, the materials, the textures? Is there anything about that that you would change that you can then turn into USP being a unique selling point? Just so you
That,
can get like really, really narrow and really specific with the type of product that you want to create and what sort of value that's going to add. Or is it just purely status? Is it just kind of standing out from the crowd, or is there like something like Patagonia, good brand, but it's all mission orientated? Is
that's
something
a very
that?
with like the reviews. Um,
Mm,
I think the issue is just like customers like willing to buy your stuff and like the story or like the end goal of like your brand. I think
mm-hmm,
the main thing is like what's your timeline on your brand and how can you show that to your customers and that they're willing to like invest in your like business.
mm. How would you feel about like building in public as well?
As in like, could you elaborate?
So being the face of the brand, recording every step of the journey. So hi, I'm Yusuf. I've got this amazing idea for a clothing brand. I haven't been able to find a specific type of pants that fit. I've tried everything. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to design something that's perfect that I know you're all going to love. And I'm going to document every step of the journey. I'm going to record myself going to manufacturing. I'm going to like record placing my first order. I'm going to show you step by step what I'm doing with my website. So you're building a story, you're building a narrative, and they will then buy into you. So all of a sudden, your marketing is done because they're bought in and actually interested. Oh, how's Yusuf doing? How's this going? Oh, look, he struggled with this. This is so great to see. Look, he's making progress. I mean, that sometimes doesn't cost you anything. You probably got your phone with you most of the time anyway. How would you feel about doing something like that? Because most people don't like to put themselves out in public as well. They don't like to be like the face of a brand. They quite like the faceless thing.
Mm. I recorded my journey for like school. So sometimes when I'm in school or like when I'm
Mm-hmm.
struggling, record myself saying like, okay, so today I'm gonna be working on this, I'm gonna do this. But then like at the end I'm trying to like sort things out. What should I do this day? What should I do that day? I have like a calendar that I usually set and like have like ideas. But
Mm-hmm.
after a couple weeks or two, I tend to like record myself and see how I'm doing as a person and see if I'm missing basically to like improve on myself by just looking at myself from my like recording perspective.
Mm-hmm. Does that give you a good perspective as to like how you were thinking and then kind of how you're feeling in the moment?
Mhm.
Like, what does that enable you to do?
usually when I record at that day, I usually be like stressed out. But when I look at it like maybe like a week time, I usually like see like, oh my gosh, like what was I doing at this time? I should have done this, I should have done that
Yeah.
at that time. I should have like taken a break and just like relaxed and then get back into the main either a project, homework, or just like
Hmm.
fin-
It helps you connect the dots, right? When you look back retrospectively, and sometimes documenting as well, it gives you more of a perspective, right?
Mhm.
And it's one
Yeah,
of those things of actually you realize instead of just being like this all being like unconscious, you actually make it conscious because you can then analyze like what was I thinking at the time, what was going on at the time. You get more clarity, and then it helps you. Again, same with business. You're not finding your way in the dark. You can connect the dots. You understand like what the situation or what the circumstances were, so that next time you're so much more better prepared to deal with it.
yeah.
Do you just keep those for yourself, or do you post them as well?
I keep them for myself, or I usually show them to my friends.
Mm. What do they
Because
say about that? Is that quite useful for them?
usually I record it with them, either
Hmm.
at school, but usually it's just me. But they just see like just me talking. I feel like
Mm.
I just tend to just like speak to myself for some reason and just see
Hmm.
like how person, just so I don't like feel like any like bad energy.
No, no. Honestly, I think that's really good. Um, good record as well. I think they'll be very interesting to look back in like 10 or 20 years as well
Mm.
when you set up and your business is booming. How would you feel about like just putting yourself out there for your business as well and doing that whole thing in public?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing like a YouTube of like how I started my business. Have you ever seen like
Mm.
how he started like his first like million and then he like started as a homeless person?
Hmm. Yeah.
He's recorded his whole journey of like how like he became a millionaire in a year. And you see like all his struggles like at the start like he was literally living at like some random person's like trailer and like he slowly like grew, but then he had like end goals at each month that he needs this much money at this
Hmm.
time so he could scale his business to get that $1 million end goal.
Yeah. Have you got something like that similar, whether it's like some sort of plan or benchmarks that you need to get to or things that you need to hit, whether it's like physical, um, I don't know, you need to get inventory or you need to raise finance or I don't know, you need to get your first sale. Have you got anything like that mapped out?
I haven't thought about it like in depth, but I have thought about like each month like where do I want to be for
Hmm.
my goal, for my
Yeah.
like business.
Yeah. What's the timeline on that look like?
So for like my starting, so like think about it like 0 month in, so like this is like my start.
Hmm.
From 1 month I'm trying to get at least like 1,000 customers just willing to like see how my business like grows.
And
And then
how you, yeah, sorry, carry on.
like 2 months in, I think it's mainly just like customer base. So like how can I get more customers to be willing to invest in my like business?
Hmm.
I have about like actually like producing until like maybe like 6 to 8 months into like my
Yeah.
business,
Okay.
getting like a product like out and going for like a soft launch.
Okay. And would this be driven by your personal brand or by your actual brand? How would you do it?
First, so like my like clothing brand to like be
Hmm.
scaled up enough that people are willing to buy it at like price points that are like either either like a bit too high, just like how Broken Planet has like limited like offers.
Hmm. Have you got a strategy for doing that? So again, if we wind the clock back to thinking about the purpose or the vision or the mission, have you thrown any of that down on paper yet? Like what are they
Not
buying into?
not on paper, but I've thought about like they need to buy into me and like
Mm.
how I run my own business. Not
Okay.
on like not on um like usually like the brand itself, but usually like the owner itself.
Okay. And tell me why that's going to be interesting for them. I'm just going to sit here and play devil's advocate just to try and get you thinking from their perspective as well as yours.
So if they think about it as in like, okay, this owner is like taking like charge of like what he wants and what he wants to do with his brand, I think
Hmm.
that's a good point, as in like, okay, he's not being dumb. He's not being like, oh, he just wants to make profit. No, he
Okay.
wants like an good brand to be run by like not a, I wouldn't say a professional, but just like a startup company, you know?
Okay. And what sort of content will you be putting out there in order to kind of help them see that or work that vision with you?
Um, Probably just like posting on TikTok how I started like my logo, like how I built my logo for that brand.
Okay. How caught up are you on the logo as well?
I've
Is that
had
like is that a major like hindrance for you? Have you been like thinking about this for a while? What's the process? What's that look like?
There's some software that people have made like their logos on, and I'm trying to figure it out, but
Mm.
I've kind of like struggled with just like the logo itself, like
Okay.
having a good logo that like stands out and just like looks back to its like owner and like how did he make this and why did he make it?
Okay.
So like
Do you have a
so like
name for the brand?
not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Do you have any idea of what it will be called, or is it, as I said, is there any like mission behind it? Any like vision? Like, what does it stand for? Why are people going to buy into it? Have you thought about that? And then can you maybe, I don't know, link up some name to do with or have some affinity towards what the brand's about?
I haven't thought too deep into it. So
Okay.
I've basically just thought about like customers wise. Like how am I
Okay.
going to get I think once I've gone like a bit of um like some movement in like customers and like some like people that want to invest. But I think it is a good point to like actually have a like a design so people know what to invest in.
Okay. Why do you think that's important though?
I think that people like really like don't care about like the actual branding, but like why people do their branding. Because
Yeah.
like Nike, I think people just buy Nike for like their logo, but I think
Hmm.
that Nike really struggles to like have a story with its logo.
Hmm. So how could you build a story behind yours, and what would that story be?
Usually, like on my website, I'd build a story, but I don't think people would necessarily like be interested in the story and like actually be willing to take their time to like read my story. So I
Hmm.
need to think about an idea like how should I do it? You know? I've never thought about like if people are willing to actually like read my story.
Okay. Well, they wouldn't unless you give them a reason to read it. And you can spend days, weeks, months, years caught up on a logo, and that can be your biggest hindrance when actually that's probably the least of your problems.
Mm.
Like if you, so like, again, stay on Nike. You know they were called Blue Ribbon for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they rebranded, they changed the logo, even once they were like a semi-established brand. So it's not something you start with that you then need to stick with. The most important thing is that you make progress and you're able to actually get some traction and get some cash flow into the business. That's the most important thing. But
Mm.
you can still have that vision and mission. I keep pulling it back towards that and storyline that you're actually engaging these early adopters and users with to get them bought into the brand and the purpose, because they don't care really if like you're able to keep the lights on. They just care about themselves and what are they getting out of it. And it's like for every single marketing point you think you have, a good question to ask yourself about them is they're gonna like hold a mirror up and then literally gonna say, right, okay, so what?
Mm.
And you have to be able to ask that at least 3 layers deep on pretty much every element of the brand. And that
Yeah.
sometimes it's difficult to do at the start, but you don't have to have everything mapped out. And most of the time, it just comes back to just being in that scientist mode of having that hypothesis, that first hypothesis that these early users are going to be interested in this particular brand because of X, Y, or Z. Okay. And then you put that to the market, you put it out there, and you see what the echo is. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? If it's positive, okay, let's do more. Negative, okay, we know not to do that. Neutral, okay, maybe it's not hitting any nerves, so let's try and iterate again. Let's try something different. Same with any negative feedback. Okay, what didn't they like about it? Because ultimately, it's the user's perception that's going to shape the success of your business. And that's what you've
Yeah.
got to be like super attentive to and for. And most will just build something for themselves, which is good. If you're solving like a problem, like a very unique niche problem that you have, there's a very high likelihood that someone else somewhere is also going to have that problem, and you can be super targeted with your marketing. Like, say, for example, with my nutrition brand, it's like focused on uh, active kids in sport, or they're just active children with very bad diets. So all of the marketing, all of the branding is all like focused towards that. When you look at something like an apparel brand, like it's a lot more difficult because technically everyone's your customer. But if everyone's your customer, no one's your customer because it's too broad. So you need to kind of find some sort of segmentation or some like bigger problem or vision or whatever it is to be able to actually sell and capture, hold, so engage their attention and then convert that into cash and capital. And that is easy to say and sometimes very difficult to do, which is why I keep coming back to, okay, what is this brand going to stand for? Why are they going to buy into it? Like, what is it? What is like, why are you setting this up? What are they getting out of that?
Yeah.
These are the type of problems that actually matter to customers because they don't really care. They just care about themselves, or they just care about like whatever problems they've got. So how can you get ahead of that and try to anticipate it a little bit?
How did you start like getting like with your nutrition brand? Like how did you start up and like how did you like I don't know, like find your customers?
Okay, so it's quite a good story actually. I actually was on Shopify Masters podcast back in 2018 when I hadn't
Mm.
been going very long. It's quite an interesting listen. Just like Google my name and then Shopify Masters, it'll come up on Google. I think it's like an hour long conversation where it digs into that, and the whole podcast really is just about getting those early adopters. So I didn't have any money whatsoever. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and I spent 2 years developing a product. 2 years, right? 2 whole years. That's time I'm never getting back. On the hunch that there's a market segment out there that are probably going to want and need this product. So it was for parents and who have kids. I wasn't a parent. I don't have kids. I don't know the market, but I used to work in professional football and I saw that the diets were terrible, or they would just go to McDonald's, or they would just get meals. So I still had a hunch and assumption because I'd kind of been part of that target market or demographic that there's a problem that we can solve, but I didn't know anything about my customer. I didn't know anything about marketing. As I said at the start of the call, my assumption was build it and they'll come. Just make a good product, build a pretty website, turn the website on, and then all the orders are going to come flooding in. And I always tell this to everyone, like, guess so. Just after 2 years of like non-stop work and like working full time as well, like building this up on the side. Guess how many sales I got when I launched?
One?
One from a
Uh,
friend who felt sorry for me. It was a pity sale. And then I realized, oh shit, I've invested 2 years in making this like cool brand and like good product. There's no one's done it before. Like I've got like 100% of the market,
mm,
but I haven't got a single clue how to market it. Nothing. So I basically went on a journey of like doing what I should have done before. And it was very labor intensive. And it was pretty much every single weekend or evening, I would physically travel around the UK. And I've literally been now to pretty much every corner of the UK with my business partner. And we would just go out and speak to parents. We would go to like sports clubs, swim meets, I don't know, like all of the Olympic Stadium stuff or whatever, where there was like kids performing, or like, I don't know, races or relays, whatever it was. And we would just get there, talk about the product with parents, and we would come with like a table, like a trestle table with product on, and then just kind of hover around. And then as parents would come, we would talk to them, and that's when we learned actually we need to understand who our customer is, because we're not parents, we're not using their language, we don't know what their problems are, so we're not able to then put that into our marketing or build it into our copy on our website. these were all just all assumptions. There's a good phrase, like assumptions, like dangerous thing you can do in business. Although you still want to have a hypothesis, like assumptions is like was it is to assume makes an ass of you and me, just the word play. And that's pretty much exactly what we did. We didn't literally have a clue what we're doing, so we talked to parents and we understood what their problems were. We made like a complete list of them, and then we started building that into our product marketing, and we built up like an offline brand up until the point where we were able to take it back online by subscription. So it was a subscription product. So it was like another like year and a half of like every single evening or weekend traveling, and we literally would drive 7 to 9 hours one way, do the event for like 3 hours, and drive all the way back because we couldn't afford to stay in hotels or would sleep in the car with like a boot full of product. And sometimes we would drive all the way and we wouldn't sell anything. But anyway, it was super difficult. But what we learned is that you actually really need to have that deep understanding and profile of your customer and the problem, because then the copywriting or the images that you use speak to that problem, which then attracts their attention, and then you can convert that a lot more easily online because you're speaking their language. So it was very difficult. So it was like all manual effort up until the point where we could actually have enough offline, even though they were still bought online, they were still buying online once they'd like try the product in person, and then they would buy online, then they would just kind of keep coming back, which is great. And then only at that point we were like, okay, now we can like pivot and go more into like Facebook ads or Google ads and start building the brand without that manual labor. So yeah, it was very difficult. It took us so long, but this is kind of what I want to do here and give back, is just help others avoid making the same mistakes that I made,
Mm.
and skip the queue a little bit. Because if I just knew that what I needed to do, so those 2 years I was building the product, and this is a product never been made before, no one's ever done it, so I didn't have anyone to copy, anyone to take inspiration from. It was literally all find them away in the dark. Like if I would do that again, I would actually be spending more time getting out and speaking to the customers, potential customers, than focusing on the product. So I got things the wrong way around. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm saying to you, like, speak to your customers, speak to them, find out what their problems are, find out what they want, like what's the gap in the market, or if you do bring this product out, or if you do invest this time, effort, energy, resource into building or designing like a specific garment, understand like what's the value proposition to them, why are they going to buy that, find their problems, then reverse manufacture that and build that into that customer journey, and like reverse architecture it rather than base it on assumptions. You still have to start with the hypothesis with that scientist cap on, but that will only take you a certain way. The point you will find out is when you actually get out into the market. And when I say market, it's just because it'd be like a group of friends or whoever your prospective customers are, and let them tell you what their problems are.
Mhm.
And once you've got problems to solve, that's when you go and make the product. Don't make the
Yeah.
product over an assumption that someone's going to buy it, because then you could be way off, and you're never getting that time back.
Yeah.
That's my like long story short, and like it's such a key lesson as well. Is just, and the other thing as well, I really wish I did. It's one of my biggest regrets is I didn't document the whole journey.
Yeah.
If I documented everything from 2015 to now, I have an amazing YouTube channel. It's a great story. You would have seen all the struggle. I've got a few like snapshots and like pictures or whatever, the odd like video of us like picking and packing orders out of the kitchen, and then like a small shipping container, and then a small commercial unit, and then a friend's house, friend's garage, and then eventually into like a third party logistics company. But you don't start at the top, and that's the other thing as well, is just managing expectations. Unless you're able to like hit on a trend and execute the marketing perfectly, it's very rare that you're able to like turn things around in under a year. Like it takes a lot of upfront struggle, which is why at the beginning of the call, I want to know what your why is. Like what are you, what's a big enough pull that's going to help you get through the tough times that are ahead, because they will come. It will be difficult. You will want to quit. It's inevitable. But if you have like a strong vision and a strong why, that's going to get you through that. That is like bigger than you almost as well. Like if it's, again, use Patagonia as an example, if it's something to do with the environment or whatever, like this all of a sudden isn't about you anymore. This is like something bigger that others can buy into. Like for example, with a nutrition brand, like our mission and vision was to eliminate youth undernourishment globally. And that gives you a bit of a heuristic, or gives you a bit of a reference point to the decisions that you make in the business. Is this decision going to move us further towards that or away from it? So if you can get crystal clear on why you're doing what you're doing, or what the purpose is of it, it will help you help you avoid a lot of pain down the line, and it will also help with your marketing as well.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
that useful?
That's actually very useful. I wrote some things down, so
Mm.
I'll definitely
Well, we'll post this on YouTube anyway, so you'll be able to rewatch it at your own leisure. So you don't necessarily need to take notes. But yeah, that's like such a big thing for me. And I try and avoid, or try and help those around me who are like thinking of starting a businesses to avoid doing that. But you can still sometimes get lucky, but you don't want to be overly dependent on luck. Like if there's certain dials you can turn or things you can like not do that will increase your likelihood or surface area of success, then obviously do it. But the only way you're going to have that chance and shot is if you actually take a chance and do something about it and get out of the planning phase. Because it's easy to be like, okay, I'm going to do this, or yeah, I need to do my logo, then I've got to do this, but like actually do it. Don't talk about it. And make a rule: if you're going to talk about it, you actually have to do it. And
yeah.
if you need a logo, do it in an afternoon. It doesn't matter. You can change it. You can evolve it. If you have a small run of first product, look at the Gymshark logo. Just Google it now. Just look at all the iterations that's went through. And the Nike logo as well. That was written by an intern. I don't even think she got paid for it. It was like a last minute decision. Yeah. So it doesn't. It's not that important. Is my point. It's not something that should hold you up and stop you from moving forward. It's just another
Mhm.
piece of the jigsaw. But if that then becomes like the thing that this big like roadblock, then it becomes a problem because it holds you back. When really what you should be thinking about is your customers and your value proposition and the problems that you're solving. And then that is just all marketing, really. It's just sometimes not clear.
How did you stay on track and not like just quit like halfway?
Failure wasn't an option to me.
Um,
Literally, it wasn't. And as I said, I went through the whole kind of corporate cycle, burnout, and I knew what I didn't want. And I knew that
mm,
life of working 12 hours a day, doing something I absolutely hated that I just fell into because I thought the money was good. And then you get trapped in this lifestyle of having like a nice car, or you've got like a certain lifestyle, you're going out all the time, you're partying, you've got like a fancy apartment to pay for. So now you're trapped. You can't get out of this. You're locked into this for like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. That feeling of being trapped. And this is going to be the rest of my life now, following the script of doing something I don't want to do, that I just kind of fell into doing. I have no interest in it. It takes up all of my waking hours. I'm not energized. To get the fear on the Sunday night of like having to go to work and do this whole thing again. You're escaping on the weekend of just like going out and getting drunk or whatever, just to
yeah.
numb the pain of it. That in and of itself was enough motivation for me to do whatever it took to make this a success. That's
Mhm.
why I keep saying this is why you need a strong why. And I think it's a Viktor Frankl quote, which is a very good book as well. I think of the name of it. Is it Mankind's Search for Freedom? Very good book. Guy who's in concentration camps, but it's like the quote is the right why will overcome any how, and that's
Mm,
why you need that like burning desire to do this. And like you need to be like the level of desire to be successful in business has to be the same as how much you're like gasping for your next breath. There has to be, because if not, the second it gets difficult, you're just going to quit. You're just going to take the easy route. Particularly so if you have a plan B, C, and D, that isn't business. It's just kind of going back to following the script. Like you will never achieve those, particularly so time goals. Probably not the financial until you're in your 60s if you invest well, unless you have that kind of pursuit of entrepreneurship. That's the only way to kind of have that fast lane approach to it, is entrepreneurship. That's the only thing that can accelerate it, like saving like a lottery win or like an inheritance or something, in which point you didn't really work for it, so you don't learn any of the lessons, you don't build the personality traits, you don't get the mindset, which you can just lose again straight away. You can just piss it up the wall or like lose it all on a night out in Vegas, on a bad investment. It's the only vehicle to get there. It's the only thing that's like has the highest likelihood, as much as it's difficult. That's the only way really for you to achieve those goals, is through entrepreneurship.
yeah, definitely.
So it's like, how much do you want it?
Badly,
Yeah.
very badly.
Yeah. And that you need to kind of keep that at the forefront of your mind, but then also get super, super, super detailed on who you need to become in order to be worthy of that success.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
who I am now compared to who I was 10 years ago, I had to literally pin down my character and draw out new traits of someone who is worthy of this success, who is worthy of being a successful entrepreneur. And that is your mindset, that's your health, your body, the way you think, the words that you use, the actions that you take, who you hang around with, your environment, all of those things you have to curate, because we are ultimately sums of our environment. We're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And if you have those who are around you who bring a negative energy, they're pulling you down, they're not encouraging you, they're wanting you to do what they want you to do rather than what's best for you, what you want to do, then they're going to suck you down, they're going to stop you, they're going to pull you back. And that, like
exactly.
that in and of itself is a huge thing. Again, it's easy to say, and if you don't have a point of reference, if you've never traveled before, if you never change your environment, you don't get that perspective. But that is like also a really huge thing. But you have to literally invest in yourself, and it's like every day now. You think when you finish school or college, that's it, learning's done. It's not. Every day is a school day. Every single day is an opportunity to learn something new, and it's being in that student mindset for literally for the and being committed to that for the rest of your life of, and just accepting you know nothing. And the more you know, the more you realize you know nothing. Like that
Yeah,
that cycle doesn't ever really stop. And this is about, like, I'm just talking about entrepreneurship here, but those constituent components of an entrepreneur is probably 90% your mindset and how
mm,
you, the lens that you view life through, and kind of understanding how most things in life are actually negotiable. You think everything's fixed, but actually you have as a human being, you have like the unique ability to shape and manifest and bring whatever you want into life, but you have to want it. And you have to get like really clear. That definiteness of purpose is so, like, intentionality is one of the most important things, because otherwise, what are you optimizing for? You just get pulled this way and that way. And you, as I said at the start, you'll end up somewhere you don't want to be, and you'll blame everyone else for it when actually it's like everything's your fault. You have to set the path, and then you have to take daily violent action in accordance with that goal daily, not here, there, and everywhere. It has to be like almost an obsession. Otherwise, you will just kind of get pulled off, and that's why I keep pulling it back to the mindset stuff. But that is most of the time the biggest problem for most, and why the second it gets difficult, they will just quit because they don't have like a strong enough desire or like a burning why that's going to get them through. And then couple that with like a Jeff Bezos level maniacal focus on customers and like what they want. Like think of like Amazon, for example, and how he set it up. Again, great book, Letters to Shareholders by Jeff Bezos. Great, like just compilation basically of all of his like annual meetings, etc. But the focus they put on the customers, like, crazy. Like almost what it is to the detriment of their employees as well. There's plenty of news around that. But all he was obsessed with is making the biggest marketplace in the world and then reducing friction at every single point so that anyone would naturally choose Amazon over anything else, even though it's the same product. So how
yeah,
can you like really get down and profile your target customer and know more about them than they know about themselves?
that's a
Just
very
like
good point.
just like the
Yeah.
algorithms do. Like they know what you're interested in and they'll feed you more of it. Like they know
Hmm.
more about you than you know about yourself. They know all of your unconscious biases. They know your likes, your dislikes, and they're just going to feed you things that you like. So how can you do that with your product or with your marketing or with your brand? And don't make the same mistake as I did and make assumptions. Start with an assumption, but then test it, put it out to market, speak to them. That's the best source, particularly so if you can get someone who's going to be like not overly critical, but they can give you kind of constructive criticism and they have no attachment to the outcome. So they will just tell you like what they think. There's definitely value in that. And I would always recommend to start there and profile that customer. Like, who are they? Why do they live? What do they like? What do they not like? What are their
Yeah,
interests? What are they going to like about this brand? What are they not going to like about this brand? And then you compile all of this information, and that's what goes into making your product. And then couple that with your passions or what you see, how you foresee the brand or the product to look like. and kind of make it a coupling of both, so you can still like inject your personality into it and your vision and mission for the brand, and then also make sure it actually has utility and it's something they're gonna. And this is important with ecom as well. You don't want them just to purchase once. You need them bought into the brand. You need them buying multiple times. And most of the
Mm,
time, again, that comes down to the strength of your brand.
yeah.
So yeah, there's quite a lot to unpack on that, obviously. But yeah,
Yeah,
what's your thoughts? Anything hit home?
definitely. Wait, I got quite a bit. Wait, let me think this through. Okay. So, hmm, when mentioning like why starting a brand, how do people usually like just like start it out? Because I feel like when starting out, do you just like do you need a plan or do you should you just like test the waters out? Like how would you like commit to something, but like if they don't like it, do you just like instantly like go back or do you just like slowly like test the waters again? Or like how do you like usually like set up like a brand, like either like a logo or like just like a like how do I say this? Like just like a an item. How would they like see that?
Give me an example, like a real world example.
So like if I were to like start a brand
What type of
and
brand?
I pardon?
What type of brand?
Like a clothing brand.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna be like testing the water. So I'm gonna be like if I either like post this on like TikTok or something, I'll be like I'll show like my design. I'll show like someone like just wearing it.
Hmm.
And if they criticize it, do I take their feedback, but like do I still like keep feeding them my brand or should I like change it up?
Who is they?
Because like either like people from like on like social media.
Okay. So these are faceless individuals.
Hmm.
Um, I suppose it depends on the frequency. Sorry, it depends on the amount. If it's like, if you just look at it from a, um, just look at it like a balanced scale. Like, is there, you can never judge anything on one single person's opinion. You don't, it depends on the size of the data set. So if you look at it like as an average, is there more positivity or is there more negativity? Okay.
Hmm.
There's gold in the negativity because they tell you what not to do. They tell you what they don't want. And by default, that then tells you what they do want. So how can you listen to them? Or if someone's posting something negative, can you prod in it a little bit? Why? Why don't you like it? What don't you like about it? What would you change about it? How would you make it better? So instead of just being like retreat, actually, there's some gold in this. At the same time, you need to know who to exclude from that because sometimes, particularly on social media, you can get people who just spit vitriol for the sake of it, just to be
Hmm.
nasty. You need to know when to ignore those ones. But sometimes, if there's like actual useful critical feedback, that you can then like send them a direct message, or you can get in touch with them, or you can comment underneath. Can you find a way to turn that into a positive? And likewise, those who like it, if there's a high percentage of those, then naturally that means okay, on balance, people actually like this. So that can be kind of validation that this is something that will sell well. But the ultimate way to get validation is actually to get some form of commitment from them, even if it's just an email to get them on the pre launch. Ideally, they put a deposit down or they pre order something, but as that first initial form of commitment, can you get that email? Can you get them in like a whole pre purchase flow automation on something like Klaviyo that then kind of helps build that hype? And then when you come to launch, you've got a database of like 1, 2, 3, 4,000 prospective customers who voluntarily given you their information that hopefully are going to have a high likelihood of purchasing. That's ideal situation.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
again, yeah,
Sounds good.
that answer your question.
Yeah. And then when you say like what are they getting from like my brand?
Hmm.
So mean as in like they're getting like this piece of clothing or like do they get like a community from that? Like is there like a certain like access like key card you would say like once you purchase it? Because I know that
Hmm.
some people a couple years back in like crypto when we had like people with like
NFTs.
if you were to invest in like this like JPEG image
Hmm.
to like different networks. So they'd have like a community, they'd have like parties sometimes, and they'd have access to like certain like stuff.
Hmm.
Is that how would you is that how you would like put a brand out there and like incorporate like some like communities to your brand?
I would always, 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 always build a community around the brand. Like
Hmm.
it's one of the things that is lacking in the whole AI movement at the minute is lost connections. No one has that sense of community. So if you can build in an inherent form of community that coincides with this purchase, then amazing. I would 100% do that because then they have a deeper why as to why they're buying. They're not just buying the product, they're buying because they want this sense of the community. They want this shared vision, mission, community. They want to be able to come together. They want a safe space where they can all kind of talk about it. They will have a instant shared interest. So yeah, I would 100% do that. And then particularly so if you can engage them and keep them engaged, like now attention is the new currency, right?
Hmm.
Everything's
Yeah.
vying for your attention. Then you've got like all you need to do is post a picture, or a link to buy or pre-order, and technically they're all going to buy straight away
Yeah.
because all of a sudden you're providing something they don't have, which is the community. You're
Hmm.
bringing people together over like a common shared interest. And what
Yeah.
generally tends to happen in those communities, you get some who end up like naturally taking the lead, or they ask questions, or they start helping each other, or they start arguing with each other. It's fine; it's still good engagement. But
Yeah.
again, that just kind of keeps that flow going, and that's up to you to do another cap to wear as an entrepreneur, as like community manager, to kind of keep talking to them, keep them engaged, make sure that you're still relevant as a brand,
Hmm.
even particularly so if you haven't got anything to sell yet. And you can get like super creative with that as well around what you offer as part of that community. Like, is it like, I don't know, something as basic as like access to a launch party? Is it like some sort of discount? I don't know. Is it tickets to a certain thing? I don't know. You can be as creative as you want with it, but bear in mind it has to be something that they want, or that is going to
Yeah.
have some sort of fungible or tangible value if you're going to do it more like isn't an NFT style.
Yeah.
Just think about their side, like what's the why? Always
Hmm.
think if you're in their position, why do you want to be a part of this community? Why do I want to buy this particular brand? Why do I want to buy this particular piece?
Hmm.
Always start with why,
Yeah.
and
That's
that
a
will
good point.
dictate the how.
Another thing. Wait. Oh, when you say like purchase an item multiple times, do you mean as in like discounted wise or like being relevant enough to like have like soft launches, but like having like limited time offers? Is that what you meant by like having your brand being like relevant or like being able to like be bought multiple times and
Mm.
like 'cause usually with a brand, you usually buy the item like once and then you wear it for like a lifetime basically. But
Hmm.
like did you mean like limited time offers, limited time like um items?
I mean, once you've got a customer in your ecosystem and brand, they stay with you. So every time you release a new product, I don't know, a new color, a new shape, size, whatever, they're going to buy it. So instead
Mhm.
of just them being worth $30 to you for their lifetime, they're going to come back and they're going to buy shorts, socks, hats,
Mhm.
whatever, merchandise. Do you know what I mean? So you instead of your customer being $30 and actually they're worth like $300 now.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you've got them bought into the brand, they like the product, and then they can also do that kind of secondary or tertiary marketing for you by wearing it. That's a good thing about attire is they do the marketing because they're walking around with your logo on, particularly so if they're like cool people or they're putting social content out, posts, etc. But yeah, it's really important. Like if you don't have a consumable, I had a consumable with my product, like it's a dietary like food powder, so it would last I don't know a month, and then they would need to replenish it. With clothing, as you said, they don't wear a t-shirt once and then rebuy it unless there's something wrong with it,
Mhm.
or they just literally want a fresh t-shirt every month. So it's thinking how can you squeeze more out of every customer, but then offer value so that they're actually going to want to come back to you, and that can
Yeah.
be through diversification. of your range or your offer, whatever that is, and just ensuring that once they're in, it's not just like one hit wonder. They're actually going to buy into you and the vision or the founder story, and they're actually going to want to be able to, or they do just have some sort of affinity with the brand, so that whatever you do, instead of thinking, I need a new pair of socks, I'm going to go to like Walmart. Actually, I like this brand. I'm going to buy it from these instead. And here's the reason why.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Try and
Yeah.
keep them for life, get them bought into it. And a lot of that comes down to the tonality, or again, what your brand stands for, or who else is wearing it. Particularly so if you can get some like big influencers on it, like that carries so much weight. Or like
Yeah.
athletes, for example.
Yeah. And Gymshark, lots of athletes just like they
Hmm.
wear a, and even like at the gym, they just wear it just for because they like their brand.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you just need one like high profile individual to wear it for something to catch on that you can then even use in your marketing. Doesn't have to be necessarily on theirs. You can piggyback on that, and you can build kind of sense of virality around it from that side of things. What else is your kind of what else is a big like road, or what seeming roadblock for you at the moment?
Um, just like the startup, I think that I definitely need to research more on the branding part and
Okay.
just like
What do you
start.
need to research though? Like what do you actually need to research? Like specifically?
I need to start like I need to start from like like just like the start, like just like having a logo, like a simple design logo that like stands out and like gives people like, oh, like curiosity, like, oh, what's this brand? I've never heard of this brand. And they
Okay.
like just like deep, like dig deeper and like, okay, what are they doing? And then how is it like starting up?
Okay. Do you think someone's going to do that from a logo though, that they've never seen before?
Um, maybe, but probably not if it's like just like a simple logo. So I have to like be creative with that somehow.
Could you just hire someone on Fiverr for $20 to who creates logos and then give them a
Yeah,
product, give them a name and get them to do it? Why don't you do that?
I haven't used Fiverr in so long.
Again, I'm just trying to think of ways to accelerate this, particularly so if you're saying you want to do this like quickly or want it up and running in a couple of months. Like money loves speed, hates friction. Like how can you accelerate the process and remove whatever like, and because this can be like a massive thing, or it can literally be like a to-do task in the morning, get this started, and then at least you've
Yeah.
got a project going in process that's moving forward.
Now it's like type like brand name. I've never thought about like actually my name for the brand. So like
Hmm.
I still definitely need to think about it. So I'll probably think today, what would my brand name be? And like
Hmm.
what products do I actually want to sell to my customers?
Yeah. Or what products do your customers want to buy is a better question.
Repeat that. Sorry.
So instead of like what can you sell,
Mhm.
what products can you sell, switch that round as to what products do your customers want.
Mm,
So start with like lead with what their needs are rather than what your wants are.
definitely. Do they
Again,
okay.
we'll post this as well, so you don't necessarily need to take notes. You can watch it back.
Mm,
Um, and what about like logistically as well? What's holding you back on that front? What like because it is like a mountain, right? It can seem like this big thing, and it is, and you can kind of not see the wood for the trees, for want of a better metaphor, and just be like overwhelmed analysis paralysis type thing. But if you break it down into bite-sized chunks, all any of my businesses are just focused blocks of work, and I'm just dealing with one problem at a time, one thing,
mm,
whatever. And it's a good Tim Ferriss quote in terms of if you're ever struggling to know what to work on, if you've got loads of things, it's a good heuristic of um. So let me try and get this right. It's whatever. What is it? It'll come back to me. It's basically whatever is your problem becomes your task.
yeah.
Yeah. What is it? That's it. Whatever hinders my task becomes my task. And it's thinking out the box and coming up with creative solutions for that. And that's what dictates what you need to do. Whatever's holding you back, whatever's stopping you from moving forward. If it's a bug on the website, if it's like, I can't move forward because I'm waiting on the manufacturer. Okay, now I don't need to chase them. You know what I mean? There's always something that you can be doing. And businesses are built like one literal block at a time. And it's a whole set of skills that you need to learn, or if you have outsource and hire people to do it for you. But it's knowing what to do and what to look for on the output side of things that can be difficult. So like, what is it? What else is like seeming like a big roadblock for you at the minute?
Um, I think yeah, maybe the um making like that actual like business like on Shopify. I've never actually like created like a Shopify store. So definitely like have you do you have any like videos or like any like suggestions on like how to actually make it? Because I've never actually like designed a website. I've used like
Mm.
Canva, but that's mainly like the most I've done.
Bro, like there is thousands of videos, and like literally you could even use AI to make you like a basic website now.
Mhm.
Like it is so easy to make a Shopify website.
Is
Like
it? Okay.
of course it is, yeah. Like all you need, right? Let's be honest, is even just for this brand is and you don't need a homepage. You just need like a sales landing page, something to
Mhm.
run people through that gives them found the story, tells them about the product, why it's different, why they should buy it. Like that's a very basic framework. Or you could even just do like a homepage and one product page, and maybe an about us page. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be any more complicated than that to begin with. You
Okay.
can add layers of complexity, but in terms of like getting up and because all you want really is either ideally sales or worst, second best is emails. That's all you want and need at the minute. You don't have to have this big fancy website. And the other thing you need is just images. That's it. And if you don't have like ready-made product, get on Canva and superimpose your logo on an existing product.
Yeah,
Super
definitely.
easy, but it's very easy to overcomplicate as well. Or to like look at these other big brands, think, oh, they need this, need that. You don't like. We're starting small, we're documenting the journey.
Mhm.
Let's just build one thing at a time, and then as you see these like specific features of like a homepage or a landing page or a product page, then you take inspiration from that, and then you try and emulate that in your own store, and you do that one thing at a time. Seriously, it is never ever like when I first started like Shopify. I don't even think I might have just launched. It was super like there was so much friction to building like even a simple website. Now you don't have to code at all. Everything's drag and drop. All you need
Yeah.
is the images. That's it, or videos ideally, and that's it. It's super easy, and it's another skill set that you'll stack that will make you like super proficient as an entrepreneur. But it's not difficult. It's pretty easy. I'm saying it's easy because I understand it, but I was also in your stage originally where it's like, okay, I've got no idea what to do with the website, but it is literally, if you can figure out Canva, you can figure out Shopify, and I'm pretty sure it's like
Okay.
free for like 3 months as well, or it's like $1 a
Okay.
month for 3 months, so very
Oh,
little
that's not.
investment.
Yeah. And then what's it called? When it comes to like editing,
Hmm.
have you like ever thought about like what should you be like producing, to your customers? Like, should you do like, oh, this is my brand. I wanna do this in a couple months, or is that too like getting ahead of yourself? Because if you say that you're gonna do this to your customers and you don't, I think that's a very bad like way to like say to like start a brand. So how would
Yeah.
you like first start up like your I don't know like your editing or like your videos? So just like
So
your
I
input.
sometimes it's good to do that because it gives you that external accountability to do something about it.
Hmm.
If you say something, then you're going to do it. Particularly so if your friends, whatever, family, or whoever you've got followers see this as well, then you have to follow through with it. You can easily let yourself off the hook, very easily, if you
Yeah.
don't have anyone pushing you or telling you what to do. If you put that out to the world and then you don't do it, you fall out of integrity with yourself and you fall out of integrity with them. So sometimes it's quite good to do that because that's going to give you the push to get up earlier or to stay up later or to work the weekends because now you've said you're going to do it. Why are you not doing it? Why would you not want to do that?
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, you can reverse psychology to actually use it as something that's going to empower you as opposed to like hold you back. Because if you think you're not going to be able to do it or you're not going to be able to commit with it, then you'll find a reason to not commit to it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's another one of those things that you put out into the world that you're then going to get back.
Mm.
And it's intentionality again. You're going to do this. Okay. Show us that you're going to do it. Show us your progress that you've made. And it doesn't have to be like a major progress. It doesn't have to be like a massive thing. I'm not going to have like a 7-figure e-com store by the end of the year. Like it literally can be something as, okay, by the end of this week, I'm going to get my first proof of concept done. I'm going to reach out to like 5 manufacturers. I'm going to hire someone on Fiverr. We're going to work on logo design. We're going to come up with the name of the company. We're going to set what the vision is, what the mission is. We're going to do that by this date. Just like literally bite-sized chunks. And then over
Yeah.
time, all of that work is stored and compounds, and that's how you make progress.
Yeah.
But again, it starts with just starting and not talking about it and doing something about it and making, because remember, if you hold it in, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Everything
Yeah.
around you started, originated as an imagination.
Mm.
Same with this business. At the minute, it's not a thing, but it's there. You can see the vision. You know where you want to take it. So now it's time to actually turn that into a reality.
Yeah.
And that's why I bring it back to mindset again. Super, super, super important to map out your character traits, current ones and desired ones. Okay. Where are the gaps in your knowledge or in your mindset, and how can you plug those gaps? So are you investing in yourself? What books are you reading? Who are you following on social media? Who are you hanging around with? I'm not asking you. I'm just thinking these are good things to think about, because you will naturally, it'll magnetize towards you, or who is around you, whoever you're listening to. Can you like be siloed now into entrepreneurship? I want to learn about everyone who's ever started an attire business or clothing business. I'm going to read all of their books. I'm going to try and find out all of their stories. Oh, I'm going to try and find all of their manufacturers. I don't know. Like as soon as you start to immerse yourself in that world, that's when you're going to start to make progress, because you're going to look for creative solutions, or you're going to be able to like learn and leverage their experience so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. So it's just all intentionality again. And if you can get like super clear with where you're going to take this business, or more importantly, what it means to you, like get crystal clear on what does your perfect day look like. And I
Mm.
don't just mean like, I want to be on the beach sipping pina coladas. Yeah. Like get super, super specific with like where you are, who's around you, where you are, what you're doing, what your day looks like, how you feeling, what's the weather like, who's around you. You know what I mean? Like really, really map it out and make it like real. But then commit it to writing into paper, because then you know what you're pulling towards. And that is your ammunition as to when it gets hard. This vision needs to be like so magnetic that it pulls you through that hard time.
Mm.
And if you don't have that, you're literally just gonna like take the first exit, and then all of that stored work is just fall down. It's not, you know what I mean. It doesn't. It's not allowed to compound. I think that will definitely help you.
Yeah. I definitely need to start from today
Hmm.
and then maybe see this week how I could definitely like put time into this business. So I definitely need to organize my stuff,
Hmm.
let some things go from like, I don't know, school,
Yeah.
but definitely this summer I definitely gotta work hard and just see like how I could start it up. Definitely on I'd probably make a goal on like starting like launching either August
Hmm.
or like late August just to
Okay.
see like
All right. Well,
just to see how it
we're
goes.
gonna book a call in mid-August,
Mhm.
and I want to see
Okay.
what you've done. I want to see the progress.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Like everything?
what can you commit to doing by then? By August 15th?
Okay.
What can you commit to
Okay.
do? What are you going to commit? What's going to be done by then? Tell me.
So I'm definitely gonna start the logo.
Hmm.
I'm gonna start the Shopify store.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get customers.
Hmm.
At least I'm trying to get at least let's do like a little like at least 100. I
Okay.
think I'm definitely gonna need to start on TikTok, start
Hmm.
promoting like at least like the designs for it, just to
Hmm.
see like how people like either they like it or dislike it, and just like take their feedback on what to improve on. I think that's definitely like and definitely suppliers just to see
Okay.
that.
I love that. Okay. So we got suppliers. We got a TikTok. We've got a like basic Shopify store. We've got a product nailed down, and we've got a brand and logo. Okay.
Mhm.
Can you have all of that in line, and ideally at least even 100 followers or 100 sign up by mid-August?
I think that's very possible. That's
Okay.
very doable.
What happens if
Uh,
you don't do that? Give yourself some consequence.
Thought
Make
about
it
consequences there.
okay. Make it real though, because
Okay.
you can talk all day about what you're going to do, but all that matters is actually doing the thing.
Yeah. I'll definitely add a consequence. Um,
Don't
think
need to tell
about it.
me. You can think about it.
Okay.
And also try to curate your environment as well. I would definitely recommend that. So try and read Shoe Dog, listen to all of Ben Francis's podcasts. Grace Beverly, she's a good one from the UK. Read what's it called? Lululemon, Chip Wilson's book, also interesting. Try and learn from these people who are ahead of you. Take inspiration from how they've been able to do it and how difficult their journey was. Curate your social feed. Follow all of the founders of like the cool clothing brands. Try and learn their story. Yeah, and then follow like any one key influencers. Like there will be so many YouTube videos on setting up an apparel brand. Yeah, can
Yeah.
you dedicate half an hour a day to watching those type of videos instead of watching Netflix? I mean, like
Definitely.
show the universe that you actually want this, and like you're willing to like give up your time, effort, energy, resource to make this a thing, and it will start to happen. Just like naturally by osmosis, it will happen. And I
Definitely.
like this is like super basic, high level, but this is the basic foundational kind of steps you need to take to move towards that goal, and then also have that vision nailed down literally on paper, not in your head. Write it down, make it real. If you
Yeah.
think it, ink it, make it real, and then it's tangible. It's not just like something that's moving. Yeah, get your vision board, note down what you're optimizing for. You don't need to share that with me. You don't need to share with anyone. Like note down what that perfect day looks like, or what attributes your life has, what you're able to do, or what you don't have to do. Have the anti-vision as well if that helps get clarity, and then just try and surround yourself with good people and leverage
Yeah.
their experience, and you will go far. I know you will.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's all good.
With with the group, like friend group, do you how do you like surround yourself with good people? Because I know that like for me, I tend to like tell people like, oh, like I don't want to be like with them because they leave like negative like energy,
Hmm.
but they tend to like come back to me for some reason. So is there like a way to just like disconnect them, you know?
When they come back to you, do you allow them to come back?
I usually ignore them, but they just keep coming closer to me
Okay.
because I'm with a friend group that's friends with him, and he thinks that like I'm a part of their friend group just because like I hang out with them.
Okay. If you were giving me this advice, what advice would you give me?
I honestly couldn't tell you because I've tried like many things. Like I've told him like I'm trying to be alone, and he's
Hmm.
just like he hasn't gotten the hint. So is there any advice for you? Like for me, I guess.
Can you be any more crystal clear on that intention though, as to like have a proper sit down conversation, and these are the reasons why, and this isn't about you, this is about me and why I want to go, and the type of energy I want around myself. Can you be
Mm-hmm.
like crystal clear and like sit down and have a proper formal conversation? Still, obviously, make it like lighthearted and don't be too brutal. But there's a way where you can actually like properly look them in the eye, have that conversation, and be like, "Listen, dude, this isn't working for me. Like, you're taking all my energy. You're not. You know what I mean? Obviously, try and be nice about it, but is there a way that you can like take away any ambiguity almost? Or can you just remove yourself from situations where that's going to be? Or if you physically can't, if you're in the same class together, how can you protect your energy? How can you have a little bit of like a force field where anything that happens on the outside doesn't impact the inside?
Yeah.
And is
Okay.
that the thoughts that you choose, the way you choose to interpret these situations, what you allow to penetrate, whether that's like words or feelings, and how much like thought or meaning you give them or ascribe to them?
Definitely.
How can you
Yeah.
cultivate that? Just
I'll
good
definitely.
questions to ask yourself.
Yeah. I'll definitely start Monday.
No,
Have a
don't
talk
start
with them.
Monday. You don't start Monday, start today. Tomorrow
I don't
never
see
comes.
her today.
Doesn't
I
matter.
can't talk today.
But it starts in on the inside, not on the outside. If you
No,
externalize it, then
start today.
you give them the power. It has to come from you.
Hmm. I'll start today. I'll make like a little script for me just to see
It's good.
how to be nice with it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously be sympathetic, of course, and not brutal, and just try and explain the reasons why, like, and go from a feeling perspective, because no one can tell you how to feel or how not to feel, and they can't
Mhm.
tell you that they do or don't make you feel a certain way. If you lead from that, then it's a lot better. It's a lot easier for them to understand, even though they might be not aggressive, or they might be like upset about it. But ultimately, if they know this is you, you're on this journey, on this path, this is what you need to do, then hopefully they can respect that.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Cool. All right. Well, as I said,
Yes.
you've got me a resource as well. We will, if you want to follow up in August, I want to see what you've got. Even if it's just a website, it doesn't matter. I want to see like what's gone on, what have you tried, what steps have you taken, what obstacles have you overcome? Because we're starting to build a story now, we're starting to build a narrative, and hopefully,
Yeah.
I want to see that you have made progress. But remember, like, stuff happens in life as well that can like give you a sharp left turn, and that's never not going to be the case. But again, it's like that's why it boils down to how much do you actually want it. If you want it more than your next breath, you're going to allow these things are going to happen. But it's, can you then course correct? Can you just bring it back? Can you cycle back and then get back onto your vision and not get kind of sidetracked too much? Yeah, that's the thing. Is just keep bringing it back, and then if you do that over a long enough time period, you allow all of that work to compound, and it will, and then you'll start to see results. But if you allow the first thing to knock you off track, and then that's just it, it's closed, chapter closed, you'll never make any progress. So it's on you. It's all on you. And that's another thing about being like a CEO or running a company is everything is your fault. Even if they get hit by an asteroid, it's still your fault. There's something you
Yeah.
could have done, a decision you could have made that would have meant you weren't there, or you could have anticipated something. And instead of externalizing it, it's looking for the lessons in it and looking for, okay, next time, how can I avoid this happening? Even if it's not your
Yeah.
fault, it is still your fault. And that's the same when it comes to like getting business up and off the ground. It always comes down to how much effort or resilience you're able to show and how much you want it. So
Mhm.
take accountability and don't give power to external things because they will try and take it away from you. And it's easy to blame everything else or situations or circumstances. And I'm like a perfect example of coming from nothing, literally nothing, and like through sheer force of will, being able to like craft uh, a lifestyle that like at one time just seemed impossible to me. And it
Yeah.
is just sheer willpower and just continual learning, and you'll get there. But you're on the right
Definitely.
path. You are having, honestly, if I had this conversation with me, if I was you like 10 years ago, I would have got where I am now in 6 months because you can leverage
Really?
that experience. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because you can't put an old head on young shoulders is the saying, but you can still like learn the lessons. And that's just why I'm like so obsessed with learning and reading. And like, as I said to you, like look for those in your industry who you can take the lessons from because there's hints in there. Like as I said, success leaves clues. And if you have someone shining a light for you, blazing the trail, you don't have to do that. You don't have to make the same mistakes. So you can almost like quantum leap in
Yeah.
experience because you know what not to do. And that's sometimes a superpower. But the main thing is you just can't stop. Don't quit ever. As difficult as it gets,
Yeah.
don't quit. Stay on task and get that vision, note it down. And every day just obsess over that and how you can make it happen. And sometimes things will just click and then things start to make sense.
Yeah. Definitely.
But you'll get there. But yeah, I said use me as a resource. I'm going to try and put as much of this content out there as possible.
Okay.
Speaking with like other startups, etc. I think various stages as well, whether it's just starting or they're trying to go from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 figures. If I can help anyone, that's what I'm going to try and do with this channel. So if you have any questions, whatever, just let me know. Same for anyone watching this. If you have any questions or you want to jump on a podcast with me as well, we'll do a video together. We'll walk through your store, your brand, what your goals, objectives are, and we'll see if we can make it reality. But thank you so much for your time, Yusuf. I've really enjoyed this
Yes.
conversation, so I hope
Yes.
you have too.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, of course. Do you want me to give you like a summary of each week of like how I've like started, or do you just want everything on August, like mid-August?
Whatever works best for you.
Okay.
If you tell me you're going to do something, you have to do it. If you don't do it, I'm not going to be interested. I need to see results. I'll hold you
Okay.
accountable, just as everyone in the audience will as well, I'm sure, and everyone within your audience as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
use it as fuel. Yeah. It's pressure, but it's positive pressure, and it will hopefully
Yeah.
give you that little bit of a kick to like actually make progress on it and not brush it under the carpet or not wait until Monday to do something about it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
All
I
right.
do appreciate it.
So
Yeah.
it's all good, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this. We'll speak soon.
Thank
Cheers, you
you.
sis.
See you.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.